So this is part 2 of the modeling the front fender, and I found this image online. It's a very simple, um, whatever 3/4 view, but the purpose of this is so I can draw lines on top of this geometry, so that when we go back into Maya, it'll be much easier for me to talk through the tutorial and you guys being on the same page. So a few defining lines on here that we can see. That one right there. So the same way we were able to create like really hard edges and on the side of our car is going to be the same way that we're going to do that side. So there will probably be 2 or 3 edge loops right there, and then I'll draw a line that kind of goes like this. It goes straight up and it goes across. All right, what else? There's indentation on the side of the vehicle here, and then there's this rounded edge. So let me undo that last mark, and I'll zoom in a little bit closer. Alright, pixels. And I'll change the brush size to be a little bit smaller. Okay, it's this angle right here. So there's 1, 2 points that we're going to use to create that angle there. What else? We're not going to worry about that section because we can always like booleans it. What else do we need to do? And then it looks like that front fender goes around like that. It goes underneath the car here. And then this area right here kind of like dips down. Kind of curves up and under. Goes up like that. So we don't have to add a lot of detail in here. I know it's always like easier when you draw on top of it, but this is going to make my life easier to better understand how I'm going to approach this. So let me like zoom out a little bit. And this is the top of the car, and it goes like this. It goes under. Okay. So I'm going to be referencing this illustration quite a bit. And then this image isn't very clear because the top of this section here is like blown out. It's overly saturated. So I have another image that I'm going to bring up. So let's zoom in. So I won't be using red to draw on top of this car. I'll use black. And it's really simple, and I'll probably show you on the blueprint again. But this part of the car, it curves like that. It curves. So there's a whole lot of information going on in this whole region here, and that's why I did a two-part tutorial on the front fender. Welcome back, and like I told you in the first part of this tutorial, we're going to get this front fender to look perfect. Well, as good as it can be. One of the things that I've found out, and I didn't do this with you, but if you look at the top view, you could see that the edge of my geometry, these vertices, don't align with the front end of that, I guess that front bumper, but in the side view they do. Okay, so how do we address that? Well, one of the things I did with my image plane is I unlocked it. Right, so I went over to the translate XYZ, and let me just break the connection now because I actually set a key, and they were locked like that, so they were all grayed out. So if you highlight those, right mouse click, unlock selection, there you go. Alright, and that looks like I have another key on the visibility, so I'll just go ahead and break connection so we won't have anything on the time slider. Okay, so with this guy selected, the geometry, or the image plane, I'm simply going to set a key because I know that I was using a lot of the lines and angles for this hood and the front fender with the image plane the way it is now, but I want to go to frame 5, and if I hold shift, hold middle mouse button, I can drag it up like this. You see? And then I'm going to drag it to the right, like so. So now everything is, I guess you could say, aligned just for this particular section, and then when we go back we're going to fix everything else. Okay, so I'll press S here. So again, we can, when we're working on other parts of the geometry, we'll just do that. Now, the other question is, could we just scale it down? Yeah, we could do lots of things. But for right now, this is going to work best for me. Okay, so I'll go to frame 5. And now, in the earlier recording, I created an image in Photoshop where I drew a few lines. So let me go ahead and click on View, Image Planes, Import Image, and it was this particular image here, and I want to load the 3/4 underscore line detail. So it's right here. If you want to take a screenshot of that, you can. So let me zoom in on that really close, like so, and let me change my modeling standard to modeling expert, so I have much more room. Give you a few seconds to maybe pause the video and screenshot. So the line right here, this line represents this line right here. Okay, so what we're trying to do is make this look very similar. Okay. Alright, so I'll go ahead and press 1. And let's go ahead and just move a few of these vertices down. Remember, we're in component mode. So I do this, and and these guys start to like curve under and around. So let's take this, go to my top view, and I was explaining earlier how we're going to go about creating this particular section of the vehicle. In the top view, you can see I've got it's kind of like a rounded shape, I guess. It's rounded like right here. Maybe an edge loop. So if I put an edge loop here, an edge loop there, and then one more point here, it would be my quad. So just trying to figure out the way I'm going to extrude this. I don't know, let's give it a shot and see what happens. So let's click on the edge again. And extrude. Let's bring it here. Bring it inward. And let's maybe select a few of those vertex points here. There's 4. And I'm going to change my manipulator tool to world. And let's see. Maybe I can start moving some of these points over. So press a down arrow to kind of like start squaring this off. And let's go ahead and get that square off a little bit more. And actually I'm going to hold shift to grab 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll press R and I'll scale it flat. Maybe that one not so much because it does start to curve. Okay. So let's continue to move forward. So this extrude here represents this line right here, and of course I'm going to scale it down like so. And I know I have this really distinct edge that goes across here, so I want to try to keep this guy straight. So if I hold V, actually I don't want to move it in the world, I want to move it in component mode. So let's do that. Move it up. If I hold V, Sometimes you could snap it, but in this case it doesn't want to. Go ahead and make this guy straight. And bring this guy straight right there. Okay. Press R. Flatten it out like that. Press W. And let's see what it looks like in our perspective. Press F to frame in. Okay. Let's press 3. Okay. Looking pretty good. Now, I'll select this edge. Go back in my side view and I'm going to extrude it about right here. So this shape, or this line, is this one here. So I'll press Control E. I'll grab it along this axis. Press R. Scale it down. Press 5 so we can see what we're doing. And then I'll change my manipulator tool to world. Scale it down just a little bit more. And then I'll take a look at my top view. Okay. So this edge right here needs a little bit of help. I'll press R just to scale it out a little bit. Let's see. Let's see here. All right, so this line needs to go right there, and then of course this edge needs to stay there. But you can see again the issues that we're facing with the front of this geometry. The top view, it stops right here. However, in my side view, it seems to, continue to curve. So that top view is not giving us the best of information. So I'm going to turn back on my time slider and go to frame 1 and see what's going on with this top view. So let me see something. If it goes here, and then this top image plane, I'll move it and go to like frame 2 or frame 3. And so I guess as close as I'm going to get. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue to try our very best to curve the top part of this geometry. So in our front view, this is what it looks like. It's a little bit off, like these vertices. So this is my world. So hold V and move it up to snap. Hold V, drag it to the right, move it up to snap here. I think we have a few edges that we can use the insert edge, the edit edge flow. So I'm not going to really worry about that right now. It just needs to curve over, and I'm going to I still want to keep in mind like the top edge here. Take that vertex. Okay. Let's take these guys, kind of slide them over. Okay, so I'm going to highlight these edges here in the front, and maybe, just maybe, we can extrude again, but this time I'll press E to rotate. I'll press W. And it looks like a mess, but we're going somewhere with this. Let's double click this edge and move it back a little bit, move it over here, just take that vertex, keep that alignment here, press the up arrow, press 4, get that one to align here. Press 4. You know, now I'm going to hold W, and let's change this to component mode, or should we? Alright, so I'm just trying to get this edge to follow that right here. And let's see. Move these guys up. Press 4. Okay, so what we're pretty much trying to do is get this angle, this edge here, kind of like wrap around. So I could probably fix the geometry up a little bit later, and that's what I'll do. You can see in the side view it doesn't look very nice, so let's go ahead and just kind of fix some of these vertices up before we do the second part. And we'll use the edit edge flow in this area here, this area there. Alright, so let's grab a few more edges, make it look nice and perfect. This area that I told you earlier that we are trying to get a straight line, like in this geometry, so we got these 3 lines. We only have one of these lines here, and we're going to add 2 more, and you can see how the rest of these edges like flow behind that bumper. So this is that line that we have, the straight line that we do have, and then all of these other edges here are obviously going to help to get the round part of the front bumper, of the front fender. So let me just try to my very best to get these edges to look a little more harmoniously, in harmony, and almost there. Now, yes, again, we could use the edit edge flow, so that's what I'm going to do a little bit later. Actually, let's go ahead and do that now. I'll double click here, hold shift, right mouse click and hold, edit edge flow, and that's not what I want. Let's try this one. Okay, a little bit nicer. I'll select this edge, that one, edit edge flow. I'll select this guy all the way back to here. Just press G to repeat the previous command. And then last but not least, so I'm looking at it from the top view. I'll press 4, and we want to make sure that it continues to align with that. Take this one. And then I'll grab this guy, drag him over. Kind of look at it from the front view. And I think the last part is, again, I'm just trying to make sure that all of these angles look really good. Looks nice. I'll select this, that one there. Maybe just move it back a little bit. And I'll press Control E. I'll press W this time. I'll move it to the right. I'm sorry, to the left. I'll move it down like this. If I press 3, you can see how it's starting to round off. I press 1. Double click this edge. And I'll hold shift, right mouse click and hold, edit edge flow. Not quite, but I'm not going to undo. I'll actually just move it over like that. Same thing with this one. Press 4. And again, I'm just trying to be very conscious of this line for the hood. So you can actually go X-ray mode. Go to vertex. And let's just make sure that that stays perfect. And move it here. That. We'll grab the next one. Move it over. So I'm actually going to press W, hold W, left mouse click and hold, and go to world and just move it straight up. And then I'll move it over to the left. And then in my front view, this is what I have. So if you press 3 and get rid of X-ray mode, that's the angle that we got, and we're going to extend the hood over in the next tutorial. And so, just kind of give you a quick preview. Let me use we're going to bring the edges over to form the top of the hood, and this is the continuation of the front bumper. And when we bring that over, so I'm kind of like doing that same line. When we bring this hood over, and when we extrude it, we'll be able to extrude this edge as well over, and then we'll add an edge loop through here to connect it, and then we'll extrude this edge down like that. So that's it for this tutorial.